Remakes be like
Super Mario in real life. Spaghetti!
Yeah. Here we are, yet again. Another year, another remake. Quite love the RE4 one, to be honest, despite my initial objections to it being made, and I rather fondly remember the one for 3, too. Something so great, feel-wise, about the RE Engine titles, with sound design, trinkets, visuals, exploring, and cool gameplay loops all coinciding to make a game unput-downable in the manner that really only a modern-day release could. So I suppose in that, perhaps there is a solid reason to revisit some shits of shit past. It's not exactly the mindset that I've always held on this. Or, well, I did, but I didn't. As hurriedly written as it were, was, and is, the video on remakes I did upon 2 is probably still the most outwardly negative thing I ever made. So, to reiterate and make my own points, my main point of contention wasn't ever to mention ruining the originals, as I know those will always be around, nor am I interested in replacements in the first place. But what I didn't like was the notion of regurgitation, i.e. those somewhat sloppily put together one-to-one type remakes masking as masters, like the Insane Trilogy or that Ratchet movie tie-in Freak thing or the Spyro collection and other such same games but difference, being that I don't want a industry, community, culture or art form that spends its lifetime cynically wallowing in the past, pleasing an ever-growing boomer market for old new shit that due to its paradoxical nature alone will never fully be fulfilled, thus forever perpetuating the same old shit, pleasing everyone's demand but no one's actual desires. I have many big paragraphable emotions regarding notions of aging poorly too, though I'll just whip up this Discord screen on screen so you can pause and read if you want to know where I stand on that now. Though in my opinion, you're unlikely to get the game that you love with a new coat of paint, cause that paint was likely part of what you liked. I mean, they took away the fat official's grill, his old goddamn swag. Remake in the trash. However, 7R, the Resi Makes, as well as my favorite game of all time, technically being a remake of a flip phone game exclusive to Japan, granted, but still, made me see actual remakes, thus not wannabe remasters, as being more of the thing rather than the thing again. Besides, tons of game sequels historically and stillily are often only more of the same with tweaks anyways, so it makes sense. Final Fantasy VII-R is literally more Final Fantasy VII. Resident Evil 4 Remake is...
Oh, where am I? What is going on? Chicken.
The vibe, feel, and tone is so different in parts. It wasn't at all as if I was playing RE4 to me. It felt as if a proper new game with an identity all its own. Taking the tapeworm design of the original and giving it more of a anal beads-based structure with different,
Nice shot.
slightly less funny but more humanly fleshed out characters and a quieter, less all-out stress and bombast feel as a result. I like it. And so I also just don't really care anymore about what I was worried could happen, nor did it. And even if it did, would, or still could, it's not my fucking problem. Which brings me to something segue leading into 3 Mysterious Remakes. This song is for my new album that's coming up soon-ish. There'll be more in my next video talking about it, but it'll probably release before that video. You'll see it happen. You'll like it. It's good. So, hello. It's been a while. Like, 8 years, dang. Well, shit. Anyway, hello? Oh my god. He's fucking dead. So way back in the day, right, I used to do a series called You May Nikki Likes. It was my first time ever experimenting with creating a style or vibe with cool title cards made to the best of my still not so great abilities, creating weak characters, and even scoring the damn thing. It was to be cruxed about and focused around games focused about Yume Nikki as fan games, with the titular title being one of various dream worlds dreamt up by a neat, all interconnected by way of neat subzones and having these amazing adventures in them. Traveling through spooky sewers, dark boardwalks, candy lands, rainwalk, snowwalk, Yume Nicholson. Meaning all manner of friends along the way, and finding new abilities that let the player progress, though it's not like you have to stress it's ethereal as heck puzzles neither. It's very easy to stumble into things as you go. And something about that must have really spoked to the imagination of many. Sure shit did to me, cause Yume Nikki itself essentially became a genre unto its own with all that it inspired. And thus, with all of that, there's not really any drought for more of it. It itself also works on modern PCs and is free on Steam, so I don't think anyone was really clamoring for a remake. But then, you also can't really monetize a free game, can you? And it's old. Ew, disgusting. Not even real graphics. And God, just right the fuck away, dog. The fucking penis on these visuals. Definitely very real graphics. The blur, the gloom, the shiny trash, the inconsistent shadow directions, and the fucking crust JPEG store. I am, oh you say, in love. Mwah. Though, yeah, very different start. It's more of a cinematics narrative feel, I guess, stuck on a 2D track with a jump button. It is going its own way, and I like that. Granted, I don't wish to compare any of the games in this vids too much to their sources, as that feels a little beside the point of treating these as unique works, and I'm also too lazy to play all of them, but if I did have any negative remarks on the original, it'd be the occasional dead air. Like those moments where you've been walking around for 10 minutes missing the 1 or 2 points of interest in a given zone due to it looping and perhaps not having all too many distinguishable positional groundings to bear bearings. And that's certainly quite different in Dream Diary, boasting smaller environments, more things that lead to more places, hella added events, directed moments with event triggers and camera movements accentuating intrigables. Additionally, the platforming that the jumping opens up, while janky, also adds a tinge of layering and dynamism to your exploration. I mean, take this place for example. What once was some funny shapes and a walkable black void is now a echochromian perspective changing through toiletation platforming paradise, ostensibly reinterpreting this area and reimagining its use. Which, that's more Yume Nikki if I ever seen it, because that's the type of gameplay evolution a sequel might have did. And of course, all of this goes doubly for the many new locales and the added survival horror style inventory puzzles. That's something many of the fan games tried to do too, including more of a sense of place, less ethereality, being ironically lower on dreamy and going for more tangibility. Like, even something as small as merely being able to ride the elevator or actually take the train somewhere conveys such a raw and real urban exploration type of energy, honestly reminding me of Silent Hill or Condemned and the Steam horror games and Half-Life mods they inspired. And given that Yume Nikki rose to prominence during the 2012 horror era LP boom, I think that's a mighty fitting thing to play into. Even if it stands removed from the original's authorial intent, it's like communal intent, I guess. It's pretty cool. At the same time though, there's such a magic to be found in the RPG maker's complete obscureness. I played it while being a smidge eeped up after a second consecutive night of being willemed. And it hit perfectly as a result, stewing, seeping, and oozing into the atmospheric blanket of simply not thinking too much, but feeling a ton. Third eye type beat, if you will. letting myself get guided by whatever it threw at me. Which isn't something the remake does at all. These are certainly two very different titles. I think that's good, though given that people probably expected more of the same, it did get trashed a bit on Steam. Doesn't help probably that I can also see how the puzzles could come across as tedious too, relying perhaps too much on interconnecting itemages between worlds far too far the fuck away from one another, with the new cinematics making traveling between not the smoothest experience. Going to bed, waking up, escaping dream, I'll take their sweet ass time animating, and that don't jive with the already more gamey, busier, workier design, having fewer effects, events to trigger, and puzzles to platform that all convolute what once was simply walking back to something. Yet, that ain't to say that I wasn't deeply fucking with the exploration neither. Visually, Dream D reminds me of a 2004 PC game or early 360 title. Fable, Bullet Witch, Oblivion, things like that. With the bloomy excess that struggles to run, the funny lighting, I'm super with it. It's a very warm game because of that, honestly. Take this sewer, for example. It looks similar to its predecessor, but now has these glowy amber light posts and sorta hazy chromatics. One can almost feel the summer bugs buzzing about these trash bags. And peep fucking Sunset Syndrome over here too. The lovely Aphex-Tinian ethereal music boldly accompanying the emboldening of the sun in the windows, doors, and shiny lockers. Something sorta dusty and abandoned about it, but not in a scary way, as this is your place right now. Your comfort zone. Urban exploring from the POV of being in a comfy bed. I think that's pretty cool. Same way I really like the lush, grainy balloon Sandsea Sunrise rides, aptly letting the player take it all in with some passive gameplay. Not to mention it using lighting as puzzle mechanics too, having the player dodge the fire tower's killing gaze on their way to the limbo woods, with fog so dense they become silhouetted, or making one sneak about little skunk goblins MGS Vision Cone style in these creepy abandoned city streets. It for sure has more than enough vibes going on its own to bigly stand on its own. Truly the Netflix adaptation of Yume Nikki. Boom. Bratz game music. The perfect avenue for me to talk about the fucking Onechanbara series. Birthed from the nut that Tamsoft busts, it is, like much of their output, a little low budge, a little wacky, a little horny, but also, holy shit, this is surprisingly fun. Or, rather, the later games were at least. The first entry, titled Zombie Zone on PS2, is a low-budget bargain bin game from the Simple 2000 series, named so for their pricing tag, and plays, like most in the Simple series, like shit. Due to super repetitive levels, i.e. hallways filled with zombies, with only one piece of music and barely anything in the way of mechanical depth, resorting to the same 3-hit combos. Did have some rather unique designs going for it though, being half-naked cowboy samurai ladies, a decently neat contemporary Japan gothic setting, and its main gameplay gimmick is bloody sword. Shake off blood so it not blunt. Naturally, the second game iterated on this by not iterating dick fucking shit. Starting off almost exactly the same way, though this is technically a different set of levels, so good for it, I suppose. Now the third game though, that's where it's at. Titled Onechanbara Bikini Samurai Squad, it is next gen, has actual cutscenes, and oh god, is that the fucking graveyard level again? You got 2 characters now though, that's new, and it plays better because of it, but yeah, no, this is the same levels from the first 2 games again. There's also Bikini Zombie Slayers, which has a different graveyard level, being closer to the one from 2, though luckily, our next game, Kagura, is actually very different. New character, legit good gameplay now, and a whole new set of new levels. Which then would be featured and repeated verbatim in Onechanbara Kagura No, and Onechanbara Z2 Chaos, but at the very least, these two would have unique stories with cutscenes taking place within this reuse, though, Yeah. Basically, the series as a whole iterated over the course of a decade to get to Z2 Chaos, aka the one people actually seem to unanimously enjoy. So on that hand, I think it makes sense to revisit the first 2 entries to make them also play like that, but on the other hand, the entire series already is the same 3 games in various configurations of rehash. And not to mention that I skipped out on all the older updated versions of all of these games that already exist as well. Let's see. Confront the terrible survival mode and withstand countless zombies for as long as possible. Well, damn. Guess at least they're honest. But don't let that deter you, as Onechanbara Origins takes us back to the games we all fondly remember and have totally played and totally remember. Like the classic and iconic graveyard level. Wow. Origins is a combined remake of the first 2 titles. That's some really dope box art. All black, cardboard PS4 case, which I'm not sure I've ever seen before. Ooh, body pillow DLC. Very cool. Reason it got that Royale treatment is actually due to this not being a blatant rehash, taking the Origins as a jumping off point to make what is in essence a fully fledged new Onechan Capybara game. That's mainly because, again, the first 2 entries didn't have shit to show for. No cutscenes, no actual characters, just a text scroll and some shady repetitive zones. And so now, here, we also have a text scroll, telling the tale of these stanky janky cutscenes featuring a dueling duo of Sistren out them to kill them zombies with their super-powered funky blood. Goes without saying that this is what every game in this series is ostensibly about, as we do be root sticking, which stuck to the mechanics as well. Proudly displaying simple sword slashes, huge zomboed hordes, and swords that get coated in blood. Hence they gotta be shaked clean from time to time as to not dull the blade, thus decreasing the damage you do. Over time, move lists increased, cool finishers and parries got added, and the levels became more and more event triggery and less mere hallways with nothing but the same ass enemy types over and over. And Origins very much continues this by keeping all of that and doing some mild RPG elements and generally just improving the smoothness of it all. I mean, just look at the dashing, skipping, jumping, hooping and sliding. That alone does a lot to spruce up the boring areas of past, same way things like the blood cleanings can be elegantly worked into combos now. No longer meaning that one would have to pause the action and step away only to clean sword. Although, as tepidly as things change, they do also stay the same. Like, maybe sometimes enemy encounters go on for just a little bit too long. And maybe the camera isn't always amazing either. And while it has plenty of cutscenes comparatively, it also wouldn't know what quiet time was if it wore a skimpy outfit and sliced its dick to bits. But at least we have some nice enemy variety. Like slimy dudes who can only be game ended with finishers, boomer dudes who are big, rage mode zombies who don't stagger, zombie dogs who move fast, army boys with knives or miniguns, and jumpy bitches. And instead of that resulting in a gameplay cacophony, it actually makes for a pretty interesting sea of zombos that require pockets of mindfulness betwixt all the mindless mowings. Kinda like the zombie father serving to keep the action going, if that makes any sense. Ensuring that you're never not 100% in the fray by always giving you something to slice up as you move between the more realized enemies. I don't know if that's Muso Design 101 or not. I didn't play a Dynasty, except when I got Dynasty. But I like how it's applied here, just has a good flow to it. The levels are also really short, so backdrops don't drag, upgrades, EXP, buyable perks, weapons, and characters is equally dished out frequently, and in a classic simple Ceresian fashion, it's short as shit. Clocking in at about 4 hours for me, which I'ma count as a plus, as it amounts to a tightly paced, sparsely smarted, and bigly incumbent romp that suits the series to a T. That said, I do strongly question the act of including the jump button in the button combo that needs pressing to do finishers, because there's nothing more fun than wanting to end a dope chain in a stylish way only to end up sheepishly hopping about like a dumbass. Ooh, hell yeah. A red barrel. Bet that shit's gonna blow. Huh. Okay, sure. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm really fucking with the cel-shaded art style. I much preferred the slightly grossly shiny, sweaty look it had during the Kagura outings. Sort of fit the sleaze better, in my opinion. The cel shading here almost makes things look respectable. It's not even all that janky. shit's fucked up. Granted, the jank in the olds, and especially the games this is loosely based upon, kinda renders them unenjoyable at all to me. Things like the enemies getting stuck behind the level boundaries, making it impossible to progress, or just a general lack of any budget or flair kinda sucked fuck, which is defo not the case here now. Well, at least they finally got rid of the PS2 spikes. But it runs smoothly, and as stated, plays very nicely. Like, as much fun as, say, Z2 Chaos was, weapons and character switching had a smidge of a hitch to it. So it's super nice how seamless it is in Origins, and with how integrated the dodging and deblooding of prior pryings were, you can very well endlessly chain shits together, never getting hit by shit, abusing the small invincibility frames you get while switching. Shit fucks, pisses, and comes, and is the exact meat-headed type of tech in action shits that I fuck with. And while I don't entirely like the visuals, the bold colors and frame rates certainly boldly embolden the bloody flashy hack and slashy fuckfest of it all, giving us high-speed camera swoops, zooms, and plenty zams, flying the pieces as viscera spews like fountains. Has some nice meat-like sound effects to boot too.
How are you able to stand by Aya's side as if nothing ever happened?
Oh my god, is that—
Hadoka is a being capable of existing in multiple dimensions.
So, as expected, the story is dumb as bricks. Oh, not particularly funny. I say all this being fully aware of what the main characters look like and having classic quotes such as,
Is it over?
No, she got away.
Oh.
But it sounded like she was going to look for her sissy.
but it's somehow a very seriously toned game. I think it's because it lacks the dumb costumes and frequent goofings off. Like, yeah, sure, the cast does eventually flesh out, but they never really do anything other than being on the mission. It's all about revenge and stopping bloodlines and blah 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 blah. It is generic and boring in a way that makes me much rather want to talk about White Day. Yeah, that's right, bitch. Game Switch. One I did actually cover many moons ago too, originally being a Korean-made PC game from the early 2000s about kids getting locked inside a creepy Dreamcastilianly textured school and more stuff I'll get into later. Cause, you see, that OG video fucking sucked. Mainly because of the game not necessarily being the easiest to play, not just from a technical POV with how old PC games be on modern operating systems, but also just, I'll fucking get to it. Long story short, I basically bitched out and hacked the script together by way of viewing a Let's Play and then using half of it for footage, being that I couldn't stomach playing any more than a few hours myself at that time. So, perhaps remaking White Day is a pretty strong fucking call. Although, looking at it, once again, YouTubeably prior to playing, it seems like more of a remaster than anything, those being distinct from remakes as they ain't made from the ground up and are technically closer to ports with a HD cone of paint. Like that new Mega Man thing that just came out that I'm actually not very keen on. I mean, like, what the fuck is this Let's Play ass border art? The fuck? And what are these fonts? This is fucking disgusting. Just make it fit. You don't have to leave the black bars neither. Just, like, I don't know, do something like this. Just use the space. Look at what I did. I can do it. Graphic design, motherfucker.
Every time I jack out,
Oh my god, Megan, holy fucking shit. Man, I figured they'd probably relocalize the game and do away with all the jacking off in and out, but no, they kept it. Fuck what I said, this remaster's great. White Day ain't technically a remaster though, I think, but at the very least, far as remakes go, this is definitely one of the deeply faithful varieties. Just some tweaked controls, slightly updated graphics, but seemingly wholly the same game at its core, and so, considering how my old review was, I might as well remake that too. Do shit properly now. Let's go. So I've been playing White Day. Valentine's Day, chocolates, awkward teenagers, red roses, and hey yo bitch, you fucking dropped your shit. Hello? And so you go back to school at night on White Day, aka Korean Valentine's, in the hopes to bring back her diary, only oops, school is a fuck. Sus women scheming, janitor creeping. And before you snow it, you're doing amnesia style hiding and running from chaser enemies, whilst also trying to do puzzles, which, trust us, will never get frustrating. Yes, this is indeed a game taking place in the lane that Clock Tower built. In that, with few exceptions, there's always a spooky person on the pathfinding prowl throughout the school, and you are defenseless and can do naught but run and hide as you try to shove a pendant bangle banger into the amulet occult gemstone hole. I personally don't remember my school working that way, but that isn't to say that there isn't something deeply comfy and comforting about a setting as such. Kowloon, Famicom, Bully, Iru, or P4, I've certainly spoke about this before, but I find that the exceptional school days, if you will, like getting snowed in or experiencing a power outage or being asked to help out after school and then having half of the building to yourself, are all recollections automatically coded as distinct memories, hence why it's hard for them not to fondify over time. And games like this play into that heller well, in my opinion. Suppose it helps that all schools everywhere share so much in common. It's a damn near universal thing. Countries with little to no educational options or homeschooled motherfuckers aside, there's a lot of relatability in the tangentability of White Day. You see, this is one of those games where one manually flips light switches with the buzz of the fluorescent lighting whirring up as they slowly flicker on. It's one of those games where you have to close every wooden slidey door behind you by hand. It's a game where you hand carry heavy items with your tiny teenage hands. One where you can open every drawer, see every drawing on the wall, read every note, hear the rustic wooden footsteps transition to dense carpetation upon teacher's lounge, and slowly drop coin down vending machine to get your soy milk on. Rotating the item and observing its detail as is possible with everything. Not to mention the working fucking mirrors, baby! It is a very real feeling, slow-paced title in which one really can soak into the setting, stew in its thick blanket of atmosphere, and basking in the detail of the rain on windows and the creak of the wind. And on that note, Jesus fucking Christ, is this shit scary at first. It's all just event triggers, right? But it's so expertly done and paced. Doing jump scares non-cheapily ain't easy, and that's not even getting into the raw tension it instills. The audio mix is rather loud, but in a good way. It's not like clippy or cheap or anything, and as I've hopefully been able to convey, sound and animations feel rather punctuated. Everything has a weight, impact, and a sense of heft, intention, and meaning, so anything from opening a drawer to approaching the source of a noise can have a metric fuck ton of tension to it. For example, peep this note over here, telling you about a ghost hiding in the closets. School has a history as a concentration camp from the Korean War days, so it's mighty cursed in a deep dark way. And given that I was already hearing sus noises coming from outside that I could not yet place, I was legit on edge, and this room has a side room. I open the door and turn on the lights to see that it's a audio equipment room. That already threw me off a tad, like, what is this? Mainly also because of how it's lit. It's so narrow, claustrophobic, and sparsely filled, yet the lighting's barely doing a decent job illuminating it properly. Regardless, though, I cautiously poke around a little and find a stress ball and open up the door leading to the room adjacent to the room and a fucking set of drawers. Could that be the ghost closet? And a bloody book in the corner too, that right as I go to pick it up, a mere sound effect plays. Nothing else happened, but dog, I was so fucking tensed up I paused the switch from headphones to speakers in the hopes that it'd be less scary, less close by, and White Day is incredible like that. Sadly, where this can fall apart a bit is with the janitors. Ghosts, abstract things, sudden sounds. Ooh, spooky. But an angry guy chasing me down? Like, yeah, I know he'll do damage, but I'm not exactly terrified by him. If anything, him being here with his music deafens the otherwise amazing atmosphere, and I also know exactly what to expect. It shows you right at the beginning. A ass beating, and that renders him sufficiently non-scary to me. And for many other people, he's also just deeply fucking annoying, constantly interrupting puzzles or cock-blocking them from going down narrow halls when they need to, and so on. That said, very easy mode. Oh fuck, no, oh fuck, okay, fuck, come on, shut the fuck up, you insecure little bitch. See, here's my rationale on this. I knew White Day. I both played and watched the original, and going by every review ever, janitor behavior seemed wholly unchanged in this recreation. It was getting pretty negative coverage as a result, and so they patched in a mode that gimps the guy. Regrettably, it also does a few things I don't care for, like removing a couple scares and adding objective markers on the map, which honestly, secretly, I actually did really appreciate. But indeed, the janitor wasn't annoying for me by any stretch. He'd show up from time to time and I'd be crouching and it was nice and spooky, and then eventually he'd leave and I could go on my way. Sometimes I'd have to run around him, which was very doable if still tense, and he gets fooled by doors like a dumbass on easy, and it even gives you an indicator that gives a better impression of if he could catch on to you or not, even when you can't see him. That said, I do wish that the janitor difficulty was its own slidery thing. I would have loved full scares, and I don't mind the item scarcity either, but overall, on easy, you do be left with a much cozier, spookier, quieter exploration and puzzle atmosphere, which is exactly everything I liked about the original, at least when watching it back in the day. What got me to quit at the time, though, was the timed puzzles. These are ostensibly White Day's boss fights, showing up at the end of chapters before unlocking a new major part of the school, and they can be pretty tricky. Like, I mean, having to do math is next to impossible for me as is, but doing it timed, that's about as anti-me as you can get. However, the contents of these wasn't even the issue. It was this. This never ends for the entire time, and you can spend like an hour on these easily. The timer is very lenient, and the janitor fucks off too. So I guess it's kind of like a nice break. From the tenseness. You know, adds variety. But also, Jesus fucking Christ, there's this one too with the alarm. I fucking hate it. And so, luckily, in Remake, it's been reduced to amped-up orchestral music or nothing special at all. I had no issues getting by these now, math aside, so that's great. Honestly, my majorest beef with the game done for, thus letting me have a pretty great fucking time with White Day. And that was pretty much the case overall for this video, too. RE4 Remake, Onechanbara Origins, fucking Skung Yume Nikki, and the easier White Day, all very much up my alley. Remakes are very good. I love remakes. The games industry is very cool.